Research. As of yet, I don't have a research job. Just to give some brief context, I was working as a research assistant for Angela Stewart, researching AI in education, particularly how do teachers in K to 12 use AI for education purposes. So then a lot of that role really just involved taking field notes, assessing teachers, doing some natural language processing. And I was really enjoying it because I think AI is something that's really cool. I also think education is really cool. So it's like a merge of two really big interests of mine. However, I want to get more technical, and that role was the next stage of that role is going to be more technical, more natural language processing, more technical work with understanding teachers and understand how to improve that experience. However, I transferred schools from the University of Pittsburgh to the University of Maryland. And since it's a new school, it has different professors and different labs. With that being said, I have yet to find a research assistant role here at UMD. I have found maybe some programs. One of them is Duke Quantum, which I am in the process of working with now, but I have not found a research assistant role. And I think there are some key parts to play here. One, I think since my experience is so limited, right, that I took for granted how easy, how convenient my gaining of my research role in Pittsburgh was. It was really just a matter of, okay, I did my background research this summer before I came, and I sent some emails, but then on the website they had professors who were looking for research assistants. I met some people who were actually working for her, and they said, "Hey, well, she's doing a meeting to see people want to join her lab," and then boom, did that. Didn't get the exactly the project I wanted, but got another really cool project. Worked on that for like the whole year, and that was going really well. That was like boom, 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 bam, right? However, here, more CS students, they have so many CS students, they have to actually make the program more limited. Um, and it's just not as easy yet, right? So I think because I was so used to that experience, I actually don't know how difficult the experience is meant to be. I don't have anything to gauge it by because this is like a really step by step process. So when like, I'm gonna get to this now actually. When um when you're applying for research roles, the typical thing from what I've gathered is you just send a bunch of cold emails to different professors. So when I do that, what I usually do is that I look at their lab, I look at their research, I look how I can do a value proposition. I'll talk about that a bit more in a second. But I look at the value proposition I have and I send them an email. Right. I do that's like typically an hour to 2 hour process. And that seems like a lot of work for like one professor who may ignore that email. So when I do one, it does seem like a lot of work. And then to me, I'm like, oh dang, that's a lot of work. I invest a lot of work into this process, but I don't get anything back. And to be fair, I'm also aware that I meant to send a bunch of emails, right? And like maybe I remember the person I was talking to the other day, he did around 15 before he even got like a response back, right? So I think that's something I had to really figure out a way to like kind of diminish or to I guess streamline the process because it cannot be taking 2 hours if I'm doing like 15, right? I can't invest. I don't have that much time because I'm trying to get into research because I really love it. It's an amazing thing. I love learning so much. I love finding out about new things, especially pushing the knowledge of humanity. I guess it seems like very abstract. Once you're doing this, like it's so cool. Also, I also have to apply to a CS program. And I'm trying to give my all to get to that CS program because I really want to I want to continue doing computer science classes, and the classes I want to do are limited to the CS program. So it's like it's really an interesting situation. So that being the case, I have to figure out how to streamline my research code emailing process. I think one thing I've realized is that be as brief as possible and just do your value proposition. What I bring is mostly right now after my internship is evaluation. So I'm good with doing metrics, create some evaluation frameworks. Sometimes depending on the research professor, there was one today. I also bring my experience working with education and working with studying people and their use of AI. So I have that experience. So that's my value proposition. So what I do, I use like ChatGPT, assess this research, see where I can like see the keyholes I can find, plug myself into, or maybe like, okay, where do you think this research is going? And that's a an issue I'm having now, because once the way I see the work that's being done, a lot of these professors and labs don't actually properly display the work they're currently working on in my opinion. They usually just have the papers they publish. So what I imagine is okay, you have the papers and you can see by the trend of the papers what they're working on. But the most recent paper isn't the best indicator, I think, of what they're currently doing today. Right? It's not like the best indicator of like the project that's going on because that paper is like the end product of that project almost, right? So it's like, okay, that's almost wrapped up. So how do I know where I can actually plug and play myself? 'Cause I can see, okay, this research paper is going on, and now that's done. But I kind of like say, okay, I saw that you guys were doing this in your research paper, and it's like, do I like that project seems to be on. So what if they don't even need anyone for that project anymore? And maybe I could go into like the future work section and all that, or like the stuff they plan to do. What I've also been doing, because of that, is I use ChatGPT's deep research to say, okay, assess and see what their likely next project or working stuff are going to be, and see how I can like find a role in that. So that's one big one. I'm looking to streamline that process and just keeping the emails brief. In my head, why I really do want the positions, I'm also aware of these people are really busy, and it's really I think it's going to be a quantity game rather than quality. I think I'm hesitant there, but I think for now, I think it's going to be a quantity game over quality. I'm also doing all of these emails are just courtesies on their behalf. I'm doing this because after I send you the email, I take it as a sign that now I can go find where you are. I can go to you in person. A lot of them I have found where they work. I found which they all work in the same building, so it's not as creepy as it sounds actually. But I know the room they work in. So what I do now, for multiple reasons, I go by the computer science building, Iribe Initiative, really amazing building. I just like walk around to see who's around, so I can try and bump into them. I can try and talk to them, and eventually make my face more recognizable. But also just say, hey, you need someone here? I'm here, right? So you know, um, I was trying to think of French phrase for that, but I couldn't think of one at the moment. But essentially, that's the idea. Right, that's the idea, and I'm really hoping something comes up soon. The CS applications are due for this term. They're due around October 6th. My NVIDIA applications, I said my NVIDIA, but the NVIDIA Ignite program, those applications open October 9th. So it's gonna be a big time for applications. But yeah, that's pretty much what I'm working with. Besides that, though, have a great day.